down and gone down really up and have a look inside, shall we? Worm farming, look at this, hooray, the worms have arrived. Bag in here. And what else have we got in here, Pete? Oh, super food. So that's not so good when we don't have, it's a bit cloudy and stuff like that. The worms sort of mix in with the colour of that. So let's open these up and have a look inside, shall we? Hopefully the sun, there's enough light today. It's still been raining. I'm out here in between rainstorms and, oh wow, he's done a great job packing this up like this. And look, the worms actually like the humidity. So at the moment it hasn't been too hot and it's been really perfect actually weather within this humidity for rain farming, I was going to say, worm farming. Look at this, hooray, the worms have arrived. Wow, Pete, you've really excelled yourself here. You can probably hear the chickens off in the background. They're pretty happy, they're just being fed. Oh, look, a little pamphlet here as well. And there's like a 1, 2, 3, wow, like 8 methods. I probably need to maybe read through this at some stage, and I'm sure there's some golden tips in here from WORMBIZ and Pete. And wow, he's also given me a little bag in here, Hessian bag. So that'll make a great little blanket for our first initial setup. And what else have we got in here, Pete? Oh, super food. So that'll be a great way to get them started. They haven't been in the box too long, so I would say, look at what's in the super food. Let's have a look. Whole lot of pellet grain there. Good stuff, high protein. That'll get them really rocking along. And the bag of worms. And he's put them in these, I remember speaking to him ages ago, and he put them in these breathable bags. And it's locked up really well, like they cannot get out of here. So that's real, mate. You've outperformed yourself. I've got to say, this is really impressive. It's probably one of the best boxes of worms that I've ever seen, as far as, opening up product line and that. Wow, you've just accelerated there, Peter, if that's the right word for it. Let's just cut these open. I could probably just pull the drawstring, but oh wow, there's lots of little tiny ones sort of on the inside, just going in on this plastic here. And let's pull these out and have a look. Hopefully I don't drop too many. Look at that. Hallelujah. I can feel them crawling around in my hands. When you've got lots of worms, you can hear them as well. They're like this whooshing sort of sound. So, yeah, there's 1 kilo of worms there, which is around about approximately 4,000 worms. Now, I've got to get these out and into the worm farm soon. But first, let's have a talk about, I'll get it back on the screen so you can see me, and we'll have a chat about the different types of worms that I believe are in here. So we've opened the box of worms. We've got our 4,000 worms in here, and since I've opened it up, they've all dug down and gone down really deep again. Now, I'm just going to bring this over and get this closer. Now, hopefully we've got enough good light in here to show you some more of these beautiful worms. It's not so good when don't have, it's a bit cloudy and stuff like that. The worms sort of mix in with the colour of that peaty material, which feels absolutely brilliant. Right, back behind, because we've got to talk about these different types of worms. I've been getting some people asking me about it, between the difference of the night crawlers and the red wigglers. Now, I don't have a script in front of me, so I've got to go all off the top of my brain here. Let's go to the night crawlers first. Now, night crawlers are, you've got 2 different types. You've got the ones from Europe, So they're the European nightcrawler, and then you've got the African nightcrawler that come out of Africa. They're a tropical worm. So Europe's the colder one, and the nightcrawler from Africa is a warmer tropical species. And they both have a thin, wispier tail. So as they get bigger, you get a long sort of narrowing of the tail, and that's how you can spot. And they also get this like fluorescent colour on them when the light hits. It's almost like this like rainbowy sort of look on them. Now the little red wigglers, they're a smaller worm. They're a voracious worm. We'll talk about the feeding in a minute. They're a voracious feeding worm. They're really good for all different types of temperatures. They're a smaller compost worm, and they're pretty much what they call tigers or red wigglers, and they're pretty much around the globe because they can handle just so many different varieties. And it's the major one. They can handle so many different climates. That's probably the best way, in temperature fluctuations. Now they'd be the major one that you would see or you would purchase when they just saying, yeah, I'm selling compost worms. It would pretty much be it. And you can tell they have a little yellow tail on the end of their tail, and you can spot them. Now the night crawlers do also, when they're young, look a bit like a tiger worm. But when you get really close, you can see the stripes on the tiger worm, which is really, really interesting. And they just don't grow as big. When you start seeing big night crawlers like we're talking, I've got big ones like, you know, like this long. When they get cold, they sort of contract all up and hold their warmth up, so then it's harder to tell what they are as well. But generally, if they're a bigger worm. Now compost worms, they like to go across the surface, right? And red wigglers are more of a surface worm. I find that the night crawlers, and I've got mostly Africans, there might be some Europeans in there. I've struggled with telling the difference, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure because we're in a subtropical climate. Pete's sending me mostly the Africans, right? So they actually burrow down deeper, and they do make some burrows like in your worm farm, and you'll spot them. They'll be right at the bottom generally of the worm farm a lot. Now worms go up and down, they fluctuate, they move around, they crawl around. They're called night crawlers for a reason, because when they get big, they want to escape from the worm, their area, they left cocoons in there, they want to find new grounds and leave that food source for their little bubbers. Most worms want to do that, most compost worms. When temperature fluctuates, they'll also rise up because they think it's going to rain, and they don't want to sort of not drown, but they don't want to get too stuck in the water profile. So they'll come up to the top, try to escape. They'll also try and move on when they feel the humidity's high, pressure changes in the atmosphere and things like that, and they think it's a time for them to sort of migrate and stuff like that. So there's lots of reasons why these worms will go all crazy sort of in your worm farms. But when you're first starting out, you've got to seal them off really well, your farms, and make sure that you lose not so many. Now I'm going to set up a wormery here around the front of my house. I used to have it at the side of the house. I'm going to set it up at the front for winter, and I put areas where if they do escape, I can recapture them again, because you just get escapees. That's just how it is with worm farming, unless you've got this perfectly sealed system. And anyway, I don't mind if the odd one escapes here and there. They just end off in the garden and things like that. And I want to be breeding more than obviously are escaping. And when we get lots and lots of worms in one system, they're breeding really well. They'll want to escape because of that, but also because they stop feeding and breeding when you get too many in one worm farm. But anyway, there's a lot of information that I've just shared. What I wanted to do is talk about the feeling and the emotion and what it looks like to get a big bag, 1 kilo of compost worms from wormbiz.com.au. Now, if you go to their website, it says that they're sold out at the moment, but you'll find the number there, and if you're really persistent, just and maybe, you know, when you get this video, they haven't sold out. So this is just what we're talking about right now, and they've got new stocks there. But if you go to the number and you SMS Pete and say, hey Pete, just come through from Marty's channel, and I wondered if you've got so many compost worms, can you send them to me? Do you have some spare? And he might say yes, he might say no, depending on how many orders and things are going out. I know he's still doing a few orders here and there behind the scenes while the website's sort of out of stock. So anyway, look, if you're interested in worm farming and you want to keep learning, I've got to start all the way again. Like basically, I've been worm farming for over 15 years now, and I've made a lot of mistakes. I made one of my biggest ones ever, and I've lost all my stocks and different reasons why. But I want to share my journey with you again, starting with these and the ones that we got out in the front that you saw in the last video. Now, if you're totally new to worm farming and you haven't seen my easy worm farming setup, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a card, and there will be a little window around here somewhere for you to watch that video if you haven't seen it already. Very popular one, shows you how to get started from A to Z, and I'm in there answering questions and comments and things like that. And also keep following this channel so you can keep educated and learn and come along the journey with me, because there's so many benefits to worm farming, and it just grows plants like crazy. You can grow lots of fresh food at home using worm farming systems, and you know, you get to recycle and create a closed loop at home and become not only more self-sufficient but also less reliable on supermarkets and all these. There's just so many benefits to doing it. So stick with me as I rebuild out my whole new system here at Marty's Garden in Mullumbimby, Australia. And let me know what you think about, whoa, the whole big bag. I'm going to read that out in another video for sure. There's a lot there, a lot of information sent from Pete. I think I've said enough now. We've done what we need to do. Stay tuned on the series. If you haven't subscribed already, or give me a thumbs up, make sure you do. Really helps the channel a lot. We're trying to rebuild some growth here and get people excited again about organic gardening and worm farming at home. Have a great day. Happy gardening. We'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now. Found a hole in the net. They can push through. They'll eventually make a hole out of that and find a new escape zone. So we have to get a clip and clip that up. They're chasing the grass. All right, girls, I'll get you some grass soon. Promise. Just when I finish filming.